Greetings, Helldivers. Today's video is going to be a little different from the norm. We're going to be talking about the state of balance in Helldivers 2, but wait, this isn't going to be a passionate rant or negativity spiral about how recent balancing decisions has been affecting the game. No, there's plenty of that out there already, and I'm not about to spend time on this video adding to that pile. Instead, this video is more of a solution-seeking one, where we take a couple of steps back and look at the bigger picture of what the current trajectory of balancing has done to the game, and where it is heading towards if nothing changes. Given I dabble with all sorts of numbers and stats, I have a pretty decent bird's eye view on how things are looking. Not perfect, of course, since I don't have full access to all the data, but good enough that I can lay the groundwork for what I hope will be a healthy discussion, ideally one that is heading towards a more positive path of improvement. I have done something like this for another game that I love, Dark Tide. At one point in the game's life cycle, it was getting very stale, to the point that even the most hardcore of players were getting bored out of their mind due to the lack of challenge, but also because it wasn't very rewarding to play the game. Many of the weapons back then were pointless in that they were neither good nor fun to use. Sounds a bit familiar, huh? So with this video, here's what you can expect to see. First, we're gonna lay out very clearly what the problem is in terms of primary weapon balancing specifically. Second, we're going to go back to the drawing board to re-examine the principles of what makes a weapon, exploring how a weapon's character is brought to life via the many variables and parameters all our weapons mostly share. After that, we'll apply these same principles to our current assault rifles. This will be my attempt to develop a balanced path to bring assault rifles out of the shed and make them relevant again. Finally, I'll demonstrate how, by having a very clear vision and an understanding of the principles set forth, Helldivers 2 is in a position to always produce weapons that are exciting, effective, and enjoyable to use, making future weapon introductions an occasion to always look forward to with excitement rather than with cynical eyes and a jaded heart. With that, hold on to your Hellpods and let's get it on. Beginning with laying out the current situation right now, I guess the long and short of it can be summed up as this. Many of the weapons we currently have right now, including the latest Polar Patriots Warbond, feel either pointless, weak, or just unfun or interesting to use. Looking at you, Purifier. On top of that, weapons that we do find fun or strong tend to end up getting hit with the nerf hammer for no reason, like the crossbow, or has its core functionality mutilated to the point it becomes a shell of its former self, like the Eruptor or Slugger. Moreover, many of the weapons that are in dire need of buffing, like the Knight SMG if you can remember that it exists, or the Breaker Spray and Pray, are often left to gather dust. When is the last time you saw anyone using any of these weapons? This then sets the expectation that anything that is fun or strong will eventually take a nerf bat to the face, and if something is weak or underwhelming, it might get forgotten or receive tweaks that don't really address why it isn't being used. If this trend continues, which I hope that it won't because the CEO has been vocal about discussing the direction of balance internally, we'll all just be very uninterested with new weapon releases. What we have is either getting gutted in terms of effectiveness or fun, and what we are going to get is either coming in cold, broken, or pointless. That is very simply what the current balance situation feels right now. Next, I'm examining what goes into making a weapon and what we can do to make weapons fun again. What you are about to hear from me is just my own thoughts and opinions on the matter. Feel free to agree or disagree in the comments. At the beginning of a weapon's conception comes a very important task, identifying what the purpose of the weapon is going to be and where it will fit within the context of not just our primary weapons, but our arsenal as a whole. A weapon's purpose is the blueprint upon which the entire construction of the weapon's stats, characteristics, features, and look and feel will be based upon. If it has a very shallow purpose or one that overlaps heavily with something we already have, like how the current Tenderizer is just a slightly snappier Liberator with more ammo, its reception is likely to be poor because players will ask the same question every time. What is the point of this weapon? We'll talk more about what makes a good side grade to a weapon later in the video, but for now, clearly figuring out a weapon's purpose will determine how fun it is and where it will fit in our ever-growing smorgasbord of choices. Once we've clearly defined a weapon's purpose, we can move on to the next phase, weapon assembly. At this stage, we bring the weapon concept to life via its stats. The following table logs down the variables I could observe from playing the game with any given weapon. This list is definitely not complete as there are variables we probably don't know about but are operating under the hood. I think the CEO mentioned that there are over 50 variables at play in a single weapon. Most weapons will share the majority of variables found on this list, and it is from here that their purpose is realized. While most everything here is self-explanatory, I do want to take some time to explain durable damage. Durable damage is a term you've probably heard on and off, and to explain it simply, I'm going to reference the Helldivers wiki. All of our weapons have two damage variables built in. We have what I call base damage, that's the number you can see on your weapon, and durable damage, a variable we can't yet observe in-game. Usually, durable damage is 10% rounded down of our base damage. So, for example, if the Liberator's base damage is 60, its durable damage is 6. However, this isn't always the case. The Liberator Penetrator may have 45 base damage, but its durable damage is 15, representing 33% of its base damage instead. The reason why durable damage exists is because enemies we fight are often made up of different body parts. Sometimes these parts will take our weapon's base damage, but sometimes they are classified as durable parts that take durable damage instead. If an enemy part has a durability value of 0, it takes full damage from our weapon's base damage. If that part has a durability value of 100, it takes full damage from our weapon's durable damage instead. Enemy parts can also have a mix of base and durable health, taking damage proportionate to the ratio of different health values. Here is a simple example to help you understand. We have here a table showcasing the AR-23 Liberator's damage stats. It has a base damage of 60 and durable damage of 6. If an enemy body part has 300 HP and a durable value of 0, it would take 5 rounds from the Liberator to break that part. If an enemy body part has 300 HP and has a durable value of 100, it would take 50 rounds from the Liberator to break it instead. And in the cases where an enemy body part has a durability of more than 0 but less than 100, it would receive a mix of the Liberator's 60 base damage and 6 durable damage. Take for example the Brute Commander's head, which supposedly has a durability value of 60, i.e. 60% of its head is made up of durable health, which means the remaining 40% is base health. Let's say it also has about 200 HP before it breaks. In this case, each shot of the Liberator is going to do the following damage. It will deal 40% of its 60 base damage, in addition to 60% of its 6 durable damage, for a total of 27.6 damage per shot. Here you can see how the durability mix of an enemy's body part changes the damage output of a weapon. By the same token, a weapon's durability damage can matter a great deal, or not at all depending on the enemy you are hitting and where you are hitting them. This number is also before armor reduction. The Brute Commander's head has an armor value of light 2, meaning the Liberator's penetration value of light 2 matches, and therefore you are only dealing 50% damage. This then leaves us with 13.8 damage per shot, and ultimately it would take 14.5 or 15 shots rounded up to break a Brute Commander's head. If you want to learn more about durable health and damage, I'll link to a Reddit post which explains it beautifully, as well as a resource from Invaders from Planet, whose website captures all the durable damage values for all our weapons. Check it out in the description. Now that I've explained durable damage, everything is in place for us to bring our weapon's concept and purpose to life. With that, let's take a look at the 5 assault rifles currently in-game and figure out what their purpose is and how we can help fulfill its purpose by tweaking the variables we have at hand. Starting with the AR-23 Liberator. I have here a table with a bunch of core stats of the Liberator. It represents a snapshot on what stats we are looking to balance that have a significant impact on how a weapon performs and whether it lives up to its purpose. This will be the same for all weapons reviewed here. If there are stats or characteristics that aren't found in the table but are important to know, it will be mentioned in the notes section below. The AR-23 Liberator's purpose isn't just the basic workhorse assault rifle you hold onto until you get something better. It is the first weapon anyone picking up Helldivers 2 will get their hands on, and is the first weapon to leave an impression on the gun feel of the game. As such, this weapon's primary focus should be on delivering as much enjoyment as possible to its users. In its current state, I think the Liberator is a good spot in terms of combat strength. It's not extremely powerful, but it's not weak either. I actually really enjoyed using it in Helldive difficulty against the automatons, and could hold my own against even the most troublesome of enemies like Devastators. The only change I would make to the Liberator is to increase its magazine size slightly by 5 rounds, and give it a bunch of extra mags to increase its total ammo capacity. Improving the Liberator's ammo economics doesn't make it any stronger than it currently is, but it affords you the ability to just shoot without needing to be precise. This is useful in higher difficulties where enemy density is high, but also means you can just have fun shooting bugs and bots without worrying about ammo or aiming very much, giving players more of what they want when they play Helldivers 2. Next, we have the Liberator Penetrator. This weapon's purpose is being the first medium 1 penetration assault rifle players are likely to unlock. The benefits of the additional penetration should be tangible, but its drawback of being less efficient against large groups of lightly armored enemies should be evident as well. This creates a clear difference between the base Liberator and the Penetrator. To accomplish this, I've increased the durable damage of the Penetrator, making it more effective at dealing with durable parts. In this state, it has almost 4 times more durable damage than the Liberator, making it that much more effective in this regard. I've also opted to reduce the recoil a little, matching the Liberator so the feel of shooting the gun is the same. In addition to this, I've also slightly increased the magazine size by 5 rounds, allowing for a bit more sustained fire when fighting bigger groups of tanky enemies like Hive Guards and Bile Spewers. Overall, I think these changes bring up the performance of the Penetrator to a level where it can hold its own in a way that won't immediately be eclipsed by another medium penetration primary. It strikes a good balance at being able to clear lightly armored enemies decently, but gives you a way to fight medium armored enemies in a very easy to use and forgiving package of a weapon. Moving on, we have the Liberator Concussive. This weapon's purpose was a real head scratcher at first, but ultimately, I decided that the Liberator Concussive would serve well as a niche crowd control assault rifle designed to create space and bring down critical targets effectively, like stalkers and berserkers. To do this, I've reduced the base damage by 10, returning it to its original pre-buff state, but in return, I've doubled its durable damage to 30, making it much more effective against charger and spewer butts, as well as breaking off limbs from both bugs and bots to disable them. The stagger from the Liberator Concussive's explosive rounds is further capitalized upon with its significantly higher fire rate of 600 rounds per minute, up from 320 rounds per minute. This fire rate change is a huge step in making it more usable because previously, it took way too long to kill anything given how slow you were shooting. Other than improving its recoil, I haven't touched anything else about the weapon beyond these changes. The Concussive's low mag size of 30 is a balancing variable, ideally allowing you to kill 2 or 3 stalkers safely, but will struggle against a large group of scavengers and hunters coming at you. In this state, the Liberator Concussive acts as a defensive weapon that pairs well with all-rounder support weapons that need space, like the AMR, the Arc Thrower, or the Laser Cannon. Next, we have the AR-48S Adjudicator. This weapon originally appeared to us as a marksman rifle, sharing numerous characteristics of the weapon class like having high recoil, high zoom, and a low mag size. However, it didn't have the damage of a marksman rifle, and at only 80 damage with medium 1 penetration, there was very little reason to pick this over the Diligence Counter Sniper. Now as an assault rifle, I think we can balance it as the in-between weapon for assault rifles and marksman rifles, better highlighting some of the positive traits from both weapon classes. I've left the damage unchanged at 80 and doubled its durable damage to 16, representing 20% of its base damage. I've also reduced its fire rate to 400 rounds per minute, better reflecting the marksman rifle's slow and surgical shooting style, but have also reduced its recoil considerably, giving you a better firing experience if you are pulling the trigger like an assault rifle. The combination of its slower fire rate and low mag size at 25 means while it's hard hitting, it's not great at dealing with bigger groups of enemies or being overwhelmed by numbers. That being said, the extra mag gives you a little more breathing room to take advantage of the Adjudicator's flexible playstyle, giving you a better chance of shooting your way out of problems that are too close for comfort. Finally, we have the AR-61 Tenderizer. Now, as I was writing the script for this video, we got a patch update which contained a bunch of hotfixes. In those notes, there was a point that acknowledged the Tenderizer was doing too little damage and was not in the final state Arrowhead was intending. So, in light of that, here's my suggestion on what the Tenderizer ought to be. My version would be a hard-hitting assault rifle that opened up the Shock Trooper playstyle. This assault rifle's purpose is to go all in to close an encounter as fast as possible, or at the very least, live up to its name and soften up an objective or point of interest. With this purpose, the Tenderizer receives a huge 50% buff to its damage, pushing it to 90 damage per shot. It also receives a 233% improvement to its durable damage to make shredding durable body parts easier. This buff in damage is paired with an increased fire rate from 600 RPM to 800 RPM, letting you unleash a torrent of bullets at whatever unfortunate enemy happens to be in your sights. A buff to the Tenderizer's reload speed lets you keep the tempo up and the pressure on. The overall handling and recoil of the weapon remains the same as it is right now, so it should feel very nice to use, but is now a real force to be reckoned with rather than a side grade to the Liberator. This gigantic boost to the Tenderizer's power is balanced by its terrible ammo economics. It only has 6 mags total, 1 in the gun and 5 in reserve. With only 35 rounds per mag, your ability to fight in drawn-out battles is very limited, and if you are without resupply or keep having to fend off patrols, you will run dry very fast. My version of the Tenderizer wants you to go all in fast and get out fast with an objective-led mindset, rather than wandering around willy-nilly taking fights you don't have to. That's what the Liberator is for. Those were my balance changes I would make to the assault rifles in this current sandbox. The intention is to give each of them a very clear purpose to fulfill, with obvious strengths and weaknesses that make sense given that purpose. Of course, it goes without saying that the numbers I have proposed here probably aren't balanced. Why? Because these are just the initial stats I'd assign to the assault rifles based on their role. I think it's a good start, but whether those stats were too much or too little is hard to say without actually taking the weapon for a spin in the live game. This is where iterative balancing comes into play. After releasing a weapon, give the community some time to play with it. Find out if everyone is enjoying using the gun. Find out if it's living up to its intended purpose or not. Is the Tenderizer dealing too much damage, or does it need a little more to feel better given its role? Did I hit it too hard in the ammo economics department? Maybe the Liberator Concussive could use a further boost to its fire rate. Perhaps a slightly larger magazine size might help it a bit more. Only once you have enough contextual data and not just spreadsheet usage numbers can you deploy a balance pass that makes a difference. It doesn't have to be a big change. It just needs to be meaningful. Having a very distinct purpose for each weapon also mitigates cross-weapon balancing, where one weapon takes a nerf because it's doing the intended job of another weapon better. This was the unfortunate case of the Slugger, and I wish Arrowhead would at least revert the stagger nerf to it. Now, for this next part, if you would indulge me, I'd like to share some weapon concepts I thought of in making this video. I'll explain its intended purpose along with providing you its stat profile, and a reference image on what I think the weapon might look like. Ideally, I would have made a mock-up, but my graphic design skills are not up to standard to accomplish that. The first weapon of mine is the AR-25 Hurricane. This weapon is designed to shred enemies with durable parts, ripping them apart with pinpoint precision in a hail of needle fire. Compared to the Liberator, the Hurricane has 50% less base damage, making it the lowest damaging assault rifle in the game at 30 damage. However, it has a very high durable damage of 30 as well. This creates an interesting mix of damage whereby no matter how much or how little durable health an enemy has, the weapon does a constant 30 damage. Paired with a blistering fire rate of 1000 rounds per minute, a 60 round mag, extremely low recoil, and excellent handling, the Hurricane can destroy enemies like Devastators in a pinch. The balance to this weapon's strength is its ineffectiveness against lightly armored enemies that don't have durable parts, or if you aren't aiming for them. In such cases, you're basically using a Nerf gun Liberator, taking twice as many bullets to bring enemies like Scavengers and Hunters down. The next weapon is the BR-66 Brimstone. This weapon came out as an answer to the following question: what would it look like if I turned the Eruptor into an assault rifle? The Brimstone's key purpose is high priority target deletion at the cost of handling, huge recoil, and poor ammo economics. The model for the Brimstone was inspired by the FG-42, but more futuristic and larger. Compared to the Liberator, the Brimstone does 2.25 times more damage at 135 damage per shot. While its durable damage is higher, it is still the same standard 10% of base damage. With a fire rate of 450 rounds per minute, the Brimstone works best when there's space for it to mark and gun down a target. Having only 7 mags total, it has pretty poor ammo economics as far as assault rifles go. This, in combination with its slow fire rate, high recoil, and long reload time, makes it ill-equipped to deal with large swarms or close quarters firefights under pressure. However, unlike the Eruptor's explosive component, the Brimstone fires incendiary rounds that ignite enemies, burning them into a crisp in a few short moments if the impact from the bullet didn't finish the job. So against big targets with large health pools like Spewers and Brood Commanders, if you can afford to let them burn, you'll actually improve your ammo efficiency indirectly. A special characteristic woven into the Brimstone is the Bipod perk. While prone, you gain additional stability and sway reduction, as if you had the Fortified Armor perk on. Finally, we have the AR-48 Wolfebrand. This weapon is designed to be a silenced assault rifle to better enable stealth gameplay, at least whenever enemy detection isn't balked or downright unfair. Not too different from the Liberator, the Wolfebrand takes a hit to its base damage but has more durable damage in comparison. It also has a slower fire rate of 500 rounds per minute compared to the Liberator's 640. The compact nature of the Wolfebrand gives it excellent handling and would feel very snappy to use. As a weapon designed for stealth, precision is a must, and this is aided by its low recoil. However, because stealth gameplay is built around only needing to use your weapon when necessary, the Wolfebrand's ammo capacity in terms of both magazine size and magazines carried is lower than the Liberator. All of these trade-offs are in exchange for the Wolfebrand's key special characteristic of being near silent. Enemies won't detect your shots being fired unless they are within 5 meters of you. This allows you to sneak up on enemies and dispatch them quietly as needed without alerting the entire village with a single shot. So far, I've talked about weapons that have very different and distinct purposes from one another. This brings back the question we set aside earlier. What about side grades? Do side grades have a place in a system that desires specialization and uniqueness? The answer would be yes, as long as the side grade has a strong reason for being. This usually means opening up a different playstyle with a weapon of the same purpose. Take the Wolfebrand for example. This is our stealth assault rifle that is built to be used when necessary. Because of its low mag size and ammo capacity, it demands precision, trigger discipline, and being deliberate with your actions. There isn't much room for wastage when using the Wolfebrand. Knowing this, I created a side grade to the Wolfebrand that would still enable stealth gameplay, but would be a lot more forgiving and relaxed in terms of ammo management. This is the AR-48S Jackal. If the Wolfebrand is the formal business suit weapon of stealth assault rifles, the Jackal is the Sunday morning casual wear version. The Jackal trades in damage for slightly improved handling, recoil and reload speed, as well as a huge boost to its ammo economics. While its noise detection radius is higher at 10 meters compared to the 5 meters of the Wolfebrand, the Jackal has the unique property of being able to scavenge more ammo from random ammo drops, a nod to the scavenging behavior of real-life Jackals. This gives you the capacity to play stealthy when you have to, but allows you a great deal more freedom in having fun and shooting things as they come. Is this a worthy side grade of a weapon? I don't know. It really depends on your playstyle preference to determine whether or not something is a worthy side grade. If you don't really value better ammo economics because your playstyle is generally very ammo efficient anyway, then the Jackal doesn't do very much for you and the higher damage of the Wolfebrand is worth more. So given that, I think any side grade to a weapon must at least open up a different playstyle, even if its combat effectiveness is largely the same. This ties back to being very clear about a weapon's purpose, side grade or not. Right. That brings us to the end of this really long video talking about balancing assault rifles as well as throwing in some ideas of my own. Thank you for indulging me in that last part there. Everything I've talked about here isn't complicated at its heart. Sure, there are tons of variables that you can tweak to mess around with the performance of a weapon in the most minute ways, but at its core, short of a weapon breaking due to technical problems, balancing should be about bringing a weapon closer to its intended purpose. Every weapon needs a reason to exist in our arsenal. It doesn't have to be used by everybody, but it should at least find some use, sometimes by somebody. This is no different from Arrowhead's core philosophy when it came to developing Helldivers 2, where a game for everyone is a game for no one. I think we would all benefit more if this philosophy was more pronounced in their weapons development and balancing going forward. I hope you enjoyed this video. What do you think of my suggestions and ideas here? What is an assault rifle you want to see in-game? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Over and out, Helldivers.